So we're going to do another 15 minutes with this, and then they will come back again the following week to finish with everything else. So we'll let them finish their presentation now.
The upstairs is open, Kelly said, if anybody wanted to go sit upstairs.
And if anybody wants to sit down the upstairs, the door is open. You can go upstairs if you don't want to stand. Okay, Jessica, whenever they're ready.
Yes, so Dave summarized everything very well.
The microphone?
Put the mic on.
Thank you.
Dave summarized everything very well in the presentation. I mean, as the city's financial advisor, we've been working with the city for a very long time, been working with his team and a lot of other folks on the team now for months and months and months to get us to this point. You know, our firm feels very good on where the transaction stands right now with the proposed changes and the economics, kind of the financial modeling of this transaction. And I think Dave said it, this has been a pretty delicate balance between, you know, discussions with the bondholder, with the city, and with other, you know, key stakeholders in this transaction. So I think where we are right now, you know, we feel like we're in a very good place with all the provisions that have been proposed.
Okay, Scott.
In terms of the interest rates right now, I know you were looking at between, what was it, 5 and 6.2?
575 and 675. And the difference between those rates, David mentioned there's 3 series now, and they're kind of different structures. Some are tax exempt, some are taxable, some are these capital appreciation bonds only paid if there's free cash flow. And so basically the largest component, the Series A, that's the lowest interest rate, that's the 575. And then, so that's a little bit higher than where we were back in 2016. The Series B, that's the taxable piece. That's about around the 6, a little over 6%. That's close to where it was in 2016 as well. And then the capital appreciation bonds, those are the ones that are going to be closer to 675. Now these rates are still in negotiation with the bondholder, but I think they're going to fall within this range. But again, the majority of this transaction, the Series A, that has the lowest interest rate on that chart.
All right. Last June, when Mr. Travestani was in, they said there, you know, they presented the financial picture and they said we're not going to wait until we get to the last minute on default. We're going to make this thing happen before that occurs. Is this right now? I know they've gone through some reserve funds. I know that they're, you know, they made this thing work probably I'd say a year longer than maybe you assumed at that point in time. But right now, this is the opportune time to make this deal, and that's why you're bringing it to us at this point.
It is. I have to give Dave's team good credit for getting it to where we are and kind of getting a little extra time, but I think time has now run out where we are. That's why we're here today, because there really is no additional time.
So, Scott, the statement just made before answering Mr. Schuster's question, that, you know, the provisions that are proposed to us, you feel good about the reissue of the bond. So, how do you feel about us removing the weekend provision? Would that be a deal breaker? Do you feel that's going to be a deal breaker with the bond, or what?
It's going to be, I would say, a very challenging conversation. You know, the bondholders, David mentioned, taking a $15 million haircut on this transaction to keep the parking system intact and keep it financially viable. Everything is kind of held together as this package, as Dave discussed. So they have been very good at the negotiating table with kind of accepting and moving forward with some of the team's recommendations. I do think it will be a challenge. I think there may be some room to discuss options, whether it's a full elimination on Saturday or maybe a smaller window of hours, you know, may be discussed. But I do think they're going to want something for Saturday. Again, whether it's at a lower rate, smaller window of hours, that at the moment seems to be a very important point for the bondholder.
So Scott, up till now, we haven't, as a city or as a city council, we haven't asked for anything. Nothing, and I understand the city is not responsible for one penny of the bonds, but, you know, we've worked with them all this time, and really, we haven't heard from the actual people that pay this, and the people that have the businesses downtown. So I feel that asking for this is really the right thing to do, whether they can discount it or get away with it, all just, you know, do away with it, but we really haven't asked before for anything from them. So I feel this is a necessary step, so we just don't let it go by without asking.
Oh, I agree. I think it's absolutely on the table to have that discussion, and we'll be able to report back to you, I think, pretty quickly on how those discussions go. So I think it's a very valid point, and, you know, I think we'll be able to probably have that discussion tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah, my next question was on that timeline and when you would speak to them. So you feel you're going to be speaking with them tomorrow and should be?
I think we
getting
should
back-
be able to speak to them tomorrow.
When you talked about that $15 million haircut, over what period of time is that $15 million that is going to be lost right off the top for the bond?
It's basically, it's the present value of the loss over the duration of the transaction. So it's kind of 15 million of real money.
Okay. You know, when we look at what the city's doing, you know, do we balance it on a scale of it's $15 million here? We're doing the $155,000 up front for those capital improvements. We're doing $200,000 a year for, you know, more improvements. We're helping with the floating of the bonds through the health authority here to help with some of the tax exemption. We're doing the power washing. We are putting, the city is helping out with this deal. Do we feel that that gets us over the finish line when it comes to elimination of Saturdays?
I think it helps with the discussion that we'll have with the bondholder. I think it's kind of all been part of the discussions where the bondholder will cut 10 million, 11 million, 12 million, 13, 14, whatever the number kind of kept growing. The city is contributing some amount of money. So the two, kind of the cuts to the investor and the partnership with the city and those initiatives were sort of kind of going hand in hand, if you will. But again, I think that will be part of the discussion. Hey, don't forget the city is putting all this into the transaction as well. So that will all be, you know, part of the discussion.
Yeah, I feel with the city putting those things into that transaction, maybe this is our way to stand up for these business owners and people down in the downtown area
Yep.
when it comes to those rates.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mark? No, good. All right, thank you, and we'll be speaking with you shortly. then.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we will start our next meeting in just a few minutes, as soon as they get cleared out. Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and those who have passed away in our community, especially Jean Nealon, Loretta Guerrera, and Kay Costanzi. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild? Here. Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here. Before we begin, I'm going to ask everyone one time. If you chime in while people are speaking, I'm going to have it removed because you can't hear in here. Okay? Thank you. Please dispense the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, minutes of the Scranton Lackawanna Health and Welfare Authority meeting held February 20th, 2025. 3B, Lackawanna County Planning Commission Subdivision and Land Development Evaluation Report, reviewed June 10th, 2025. 3C, correspondence dated June 30th, 2025 from City Business Administration regarding ARPA budget transfers. 3D, correspondence dated July 2nd, 2025 from City Business Administration regarding Department of Public Works budget transfer. 3E, correspondence received June 7th, 2025 from the Honorable Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania Governor, to City Council President Gerald Smurl regarding Governor Shapiro's commitment to Pennsylvania school students, teachers, and facilities.
Are there any questions, comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a quick one. So I know we just did our regular moment of silence, but I can't stop thinking about the poor little lost souls of the horrific flooding event last week at Camp Mystic. My heart, thoughts, and prayers go out to them, their families. God bless them, and the brave first responders for all their heroic efforts. That is all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? I have just one announcement, another payment on our, in lieu of taxes. It came from the Society for the Preservation of the Tripp Family Homestead. So that's another donation, or another payment in lieu of taxes.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
First is Leslie Collins.
I'm Leslie Collins, President and CEO of Scranton Tomorrow. I'm here this evening regarding the parking system legislation. I did attend the recent caucus, and I did hear the more of a detailed plan from Dave Trevisani, which we are all very grateful to have more details. I would like to share that yesterday I did have a personal conversation with Dave, and we were on the phone for quite some time, and I had a lot of questions on behalf of our downtown small business owners. I think the conversation was very productive, and hoping that it will have a beneficial turnout. Also, I'd like to note that this afternoon I had a lengthy conversation with Mayor Cognetti, as well as Jessica Esquire, and I believe that conversation also was extremely beneficial, so that we understood both sides of where we are at with the legislation. I would like to note and to thank all of our small businesses who are here this evening. I think you can see from everyone seated in the gallery that we are really lucky to have the business community that we have in downtown Scranton. Our business owners are not only committed to their own businesses, but they are committed to their neighbors' business as well. So they really have just an absolutely magnificent relationship. And so I'm sure you're going to hear from many of them this evening, but please recognize that they may not only be here for their own business, most likely they are here in support of their neighboring businesses as well. So Scranton Tomorrow understands the financial complications of the parking system and the pressing need for the restructuring of this significant debt. Throughout the years, in our role as a community convener, we have successfully brought together parking representatives, city officials, and members of our small business community for discussion, idea sharing, and resolution of various concerns. Today, based on the recent press and the council agenda, I'm here to represent the downtown business community along with them and by their side and relay their greatest concern, which has been relayed to us of the proposed legislation, which is specifically the implementation of Saturday metered hours between the hours of, say, 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Regarding the caucus presentation from this evening, I absolutely understand the intent of the expansion of the metered hours is to manage traffic flow, increase turnover, and discourage long-term parkers in high-demand areas, all of which are absolutely valid concerns, and I know we would support that intent. However, I would ask that council and the administration please review what I believe to be an existing ordinance on the books, which is 439-20, which prohibits parking during nighttime hours. It is very vague, does not specifically describe one specific location, but I think it certainly is worth some investigation and how that ordinance, which is currently already on the books, could be enforced in a different manner. Scranton Tomorrow, serving as the downtown business advocate, has been contacted by numerous businesses, property owners, developers, and residents fearful of the economic impact of the expanded metered parking hours on Saturday between the hours identified in the legislation. The concern is not only for the bottom line of their own particular business, it's, as I said, concern of the overall economic security of their neighboring businesses, as well as their own employee base. For the majority of the downtown businesses, Saturdays represent the most critical period for sales, foot traffic, and most definitely special events. Recognizing the complexity of the refinancing and the immediate need to move this legislation forward, we would respectfully ask that you review and consider revising the section regarding implementation of Saturday metered parking to a more mutually beneficial outcome, supporting both the parking system, refinancing, and the downtown business community. I think we would all agree, and I don't think this could be disputed, that a well-structured and financially sound parking system is truly critical to the health and the vibrancy of your core business district. And without that in place, we certainly would see disorder that would occur. However, we do feel very strongly that it is important to support our small businesses who truly are the backbone of our community. So I would once again respectfully ask for that review, and I thank you for the opportunity to address council.
Thank you, Leslie. And that ordinance for parking, you know, that covers the entire city of Scranton, not
Yes,
just...
it's very vague.
Very vague,
or
and
broad.
so
Maybe I should say
you
it's
tell
very...
the bars they have to close at 11 o'clock? I don't think
Yes.
so.
But maybe it is worth, and you know, maybe
It
this
would have to be
the
revised or redone, but
yeah, maybe
Thank
this
you.
would be an opportunity. Thank you.
thank you. George Simeon?
I'm George Simeon. I live at 200 Adams downtown. Love living there. My head's spinning from all this. They didn't answer, first of all, who's going to police this? Like, that is a big concern. The meter people come out. Now, the hours right now are 8 to 5, correct? During the week. I see them come out at 8:30. They're gone by 4. I could pay in front of my building at 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and I won't get a ticket because they are so spread out. They have to police up by CMC. They have the police over by Regional Hospital. There's 2 women. There's 2 women. So there's so much loss right there in revenue, in my opinion. The kiosks. They didn't say anything about maintaining the kiosks. And as far as the kiosks go, they're vandalized, the stickers are off them, they're filthy. Some of them don't work, and I do agree with the parking times that should be on there because it's not clear to the general public. I want to give an example of people that pay downtown. If you look at the old hotel where the, I forget, Red Roof or whatever it's called down there, it's packed during the day. They get $50 per spot to park there. A lot of the people from the county park over there because it's $50, okay? So, when I get up in the morning, there's a parking garage right next to my apartment, and 3/4 of it is empty. Doesn't it make more sense to lower the parking rate for residents? I pay $92 because I live a half a block from that parking garage. Why? Again, their forecasting is just not, it's just like totally out of whack because I don't think, first of all, they didn't ask anyone. They didn't say, okay, let's sit down and look at our other options. And it, you know, I mean, it just didn't happen. So that part is really frustrating because the garages are empty. And he kept saying, oh, it's $1 an hour, it's $1 an hour. It doesn't matter, they're still empty. People are not going to the garage. Like, it's just not happening. Also, I was just informed that the Hilton pays, or guests pay, $15 for overnight parking in the garages. Do you go to New York, you pay $15 overnight in Manhattan for parking? Why are they only being charged $15 an hour? Like, come on. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's just very disparaging. But I think the problem is policing the situation because it's not going to happen. Also, half the signs are down. They get knocked down by trucks or snow plows in the winter. Half the parking spots aren't there. Getting back to the attendance, they let Verizon park on that whole block of Adams Avenue. Don't charge them for anything. Like, I just don't understand the whole, like, it's just the mathematics of it. Like, people are not, we're not giving you the input for these people. And I don't think they looked at the other options. They haven't. So I just don't, I just see that they're, as far as the weekend goes, it's not, I don't think it should happen. If the parking goes until 7 o'clock at night, if they don't have the help, it's not going to happen. They don't police them during the day enough. So I know everybody here speaks, they're going to have similar things that they want to say, but it's just, and again, not hearing about it until I read it in the newspaper. This was the most substantial thing that was in the paper for the past month. So, you know, in closing, I think the residents should still have some input, the business owners, and let's at least talk about it. Like, we didn't have a chance to talk about it because there are other revenue sources by just having common sense. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, George. Joan Hodowanis?
Joan Hodowanis, Scranton. Well, if ever a major piece of legislation should have been preceded by a town hall, this is it. We hear about the major stakeholders, you know, the CDPS, the city, and the bondholder. What about the downtown residents? What about the business owners and their employees and people who work downtown? What about organizations like the universities and the medical college and the library, all of whom have a vested interest in this type of legislation? This should have been preceded by a town hall where there could have been a greater exchange of opinions and comments. This seems to me like, oh, well, we're at a crisis situation, so let's get this legislation passed and we'll go home for August. I'm not happy about that. I went back and looked at the slideshow that they presented on June 16th. A couple things came to mind. Two of the objectives for these parking changes, it's important for economic development, and it will reduce driver stress. Are you kidding me? And then, okay, what are some of the reasons why they're in such financial dire straits? COVID. The last time I looked, COVID had died about 3 years ago, and that's an excuse that needs to be put to bed. You could only use that so many times and then it's gone. I can't believe that they're using that as an excuse. I can understand the first 2 years, but not until 2025. Then they have the nerve to put in their slideshow that the city can implement a parking tax on the city's parking lots and meters. Just what the city needs right now, another tax. I'm sure that'll go over quite well, just like the predicted rain tax did. I want to know, did they contact these private parking lot owners? Did they talk to, any of the residents downtown? I got an email from my property manager telling me that we should come to this meeting tonight because our parking fees are going to be the highest in northeastern Pennsylvania. I want to know if that's true. These extended hours, especially on Saturday, you can't drop a bombshell like that and not give the public a chance to express their concerns more than just 1 or 2 weeks. I think that's wrong. What about the developers downtown? You talk about we want to get the permanent parkers, get these downtown residents parking in the parking garage. Most of your downtown residents fall into 2 groups: retirees like me and students. And guess who has the least amount of disposable income to throw around? Retirees and students. And for them to get this as a summer present, oh, this is just going to be a joy. I wonder, if you were a John Bassaliga or a Charlie Jefferson, would you want to renovate another building into apartments? This is going to change the calculus for the demand for downtown apartments. It will. It will, because so many are students. And if you think I'm wrong, go down to Samter's and knock on every door. They're 99% students, and I'm sure that's true of a lot of the buildings. I don't know, there's so much to say in so little time. I'm glad that they apply for grants, and I think it's wonderful that they'll want to put solar panels. I'm sure that'll generate a lot of income. But I want to know why we have to rush this through, and why can't we have more time for a more formal exchange of views and concerns. I think the people pay a lot of taxes in this town, and just to have this dropped in our laps like this, I think is patently unfair. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Martina Soden?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Martina Soden. I'm Head of Reference Services at the Scranton Public Library. I've come to you today as a representative of the library to speak about the parking that's been on the agenda tonight and the next few weeks. Our mission at the Scranton Public Library is to enhance our community by fostering and supporting individual aspirations towards lifelong learning, entertainment, and self-fulfillment for all. This is accomplished through free access wherever is needed to a broad collection of resources in currently used formats, courteous and knowledgeable staff, and activities designed to satisfy the informational, educational, recreational, and personal needs of everyone in our ever-changing and diverse environment. The Scranton Public Library opened its doors On June 1st, 1893, we just celebrated our 132nd anniversary. We were created as the first free library in the city of Scranton, where anyone could come through our doors and have access to a variety of materials. That hasn't changed. We continue to offer free computers, printers, Wi-Fi, circulation collections, meeting spaces, and programming. As we have been a part of this city of Scranton for so long, we also want the city to succeed and continue to be a vibrant community. But we also see the disadvantage of the changes introduced. Over the years, we have adapted and accepted many conditions, but this one is harder for us. Our patrons have been hindered over the years due to the cost of parking. These new changes will have an effect on accessibility of our resources and access to all we offer. We have built our programs around free parking by having programs at 6 p.m. on weekdays and on Saturdays. We have heard from patrons regarding the expense to park, and they come to us on hours that are free. To help our patrons, in the last 6 months, we have started working with Adams Parking Garage, where we offer 2 free hours of parking. But this is actually coming out of our general fund, and we pay for the parking for the patrons. We hope that we won't need to add more hours, but we will always, as we said, we'll continue to change. Please reconsider how this will affect patrons, families, and businesses in our community with the changes of the parking hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Les Spindler?
Evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident and homeowner. You know, I'm old enough to remember growing up in this city, Scranton was bustling downtown with all small businesses like people are represented here. This legislation will kill these businesses. I remember coming downtown, Spruce Street was packed with small businesses. There was a store called The Flash, a men's store my dad used to shop at, and he'd bring me all the time. If this goes through, if this legislation is passed, you're going to kill all these businesses. And I hope the mayor is there when these people are locking their doors, like she's there cutting ribbons, putting their face in the news all the time. You can't pass this legislation. You're going to kill all these small businesses. It's wonderful what they do. They're great for the city. And even the gentleman here said how Scranton's growing. Well, it's going to stop growing if these things are implemented. I have a lot to say tonight, so that's all I'm going to say on that. But just hope you reconsider and vote against this legislation. Next thing. Last week I was here, and I said I gave the city the last Thursday to fix my corner. Well, obviously they didn't come. So I ended up taking care of it myself. But I don't think I should have to. I pay property taxes to have this stuff taken care of. If this city isn't going to do what they're supposed to do with it, I might have to stop paying my property taxes. Because this city it's terrible right now. All you get is lies, lies, lies from the mayor, the council, to the DPW director that promised me 3 years ago that our corner would be fixed. I had to take it upon myself to fix my corner. And with the downpour we had today, I must say I'm not a professional, but I think I did a pretty darn good job because it kept the water off my sidewalks. Next thing, I go to shop at Redner's a lot. I see homeless people sitting there begging for money, and I would give it to them whenever I can. And I can't afford to do it. I'm on Social Security. I'm on a fixed income. I can't just give money away. But I won't be giving them anymore. Why don't they go get a job? I give them money, and I come out and I see them smoking cigarettes. They're begging for money to go buy cigarettes. That's ridiculous. If they could buy cigarettes, which are, like $5, $6 a pack, they shouldn't be sitting there begging for money for people that work their whole lives to collect Social Security. It's ridiculous. They won't get another cent from me. And if people think I'm insensitive, yeah, well, I am insensitive. Well, people are buying cigarettes for money, with money they're begging for. Next thing, pave cuts again. I mean, keep talking about these pave cuts till they're all fixed. And I said last week, you people are not doing your job. You should be after these people who are supposed to be inspecting these pave cuts. They're just allowed to sit there. And I said, the one on my block, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And leaving this meeting 2 weeks ago, I was walking my dog down Dorothy Street like I always do, came across a road collapse. I told Councilman Schuster about it, he has pictures. Right by the Trip Park Community Center, a hole opened up about 2 to 3 feet deep and 2 feet by 4 feet. Nothing's been done. The police put barricades around it. It's been 2 weeks now. Someone did put some fill in it a couple of days after I saw it, but nothing's been done. The pavement around the hole keeps falling in, and it's just sitting there. I don't know what it takes for this city to get things done, and that's the water company. The water company made that pave cut about a year or two ago because there's a storm drain about 10 feet away from it. And, roads just don't collapse. There's got to be a reason why that road collapsed. And nobody's doing anything. I go by there almost every day. Nothing's being done. Lastly, it's on the news yesterday where the Philadelphia Phillies, who I can't stand. I think the Phillies fans are the worst in the world. But they did something wonderful Sunday. They invited Detective Gil Martin and his family to their game on Sunday, and they honored him. He went down on the field with his family. They gave him a Phillies jersey with his name on it. Well, I thought that was really wonderful. And they said, what he went through and everything. And I give Phillies credit for that, but that's all I give him credit for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Virgil Argenta?
Good evening, Virgil Argenta, Scranton taxpayer, city council candidate. I stand in solidarity with the downtown Scranton business owners against the new parking authority's proposals. Where's the mayor tonight on this very important issue? I would like to express my deep concern regarding the management, or should I say the mismanagement, of community development property, Scranton's parking authority, which was transferred under an unusually long lease to a nonprofit vendor. While public-private partnerships can offer value, they must remain accountable to the community that they serve. This vendor recent request for increased funding and hours, a lease extension, city intervention, and maintenance requests are troubling. Though the pandemic, which is 5 years old, posed challenges, it should not excuse unmet obligations or just unjustify any further concessions. Even more concerning is the rise in parking rates and longer enforcement hours that is creating financial pressure on downtown Scranton's residents, business owners, and visitors. This policy may reduce economic activity and deter participation in events like Saturday church services or evening City of Scranton board meetings. Additionally, it might be worth looking into the salary of executives of the community development property, Scranton, this nonprofit parking authority. Let's not forget local residents, employees have repeatedly been let go, further distancing this operation from the community it's meant to serve. Let's keep in mind the last parking authority board meeting last week was held in the lobby of City Hall due to the doors being locked. If this vendor cannot fulfill its obligations without shifting costs onto the public and reducing local employment, this arrangement is no longer serving Scranton, its residents, its businesses, or its public trust. It's reneging on its contract. I would like to share an experience regarding parking authority. My wife owned a restaurant catering business for over 20 years in the city of Scranton, including 5 years in downtown. One of the most significant challenges both our customers and staff encountered was with the parking enforcement officers, who often issued tickets without consideration for those loading or unloading supplies or preparing for catered events. Customers were ticketed even while quickly picking up their orders, which ultimately led many senior groups to stop visiting due to concerns about parking violations which was one of the factors in us closing our downtown location. Tonight, I respectfully call on the City Council to take immediate steps to terminate the current lease and restore municipal control of the parking authority back to the City of Scranton. Our city's infrastructure belongs to its people, and it must be managed with transparency, fairness, and genuine local stewardship. Let's give the parking authority the same courtesy it gives our residents and visitors to Scranton. None. Mr. Smurl, over the weekend you completed the weeding and trimming of the grass at 307 Lookout. Looks great. Councilman McAndrew has previously requested permission from the administration to have qualified masons repair the wall at the Lookout, but has not received approval. Could you clarify how you obtained authorization to undertake work on city property? While the area is now visibly cleaned up, some concerns remain about work typically performed by city union workers. Would it be possible for you to organize an annual cleanup event like those held in other parks, potentially with support from union leaders and its members? I think they would be okay with that. What does the council person who oversees DPW think about another council person taking work away from DPW union members? Additionally, if one of your volunteers were injured while working on city property, who would assume responsibility? The City of Scranton? Could you also provide any information about the status of that new two-person Blake crew that is supposed to be handling jobs like that? Mr. Smurl, DPW will be short 2 employees tomorrow morning. Is there any possibility you could assist with garbage collection? And a quick question. Do you know if we're still vetting the new police hires, particularly the last police hire that was hired? Are we vetting those guys properly?
I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You'll see something's coming down the pike.
Kevin Morgan?
Hello, Kevin Morgan, downtown resident. Just a few things. I was here early, listening to them here, and just a few things that kind of caught my ear. I don't think that we should stand by the eye test for this gentleman saying that's where he's getting his data from, that he walked around downtown Scranton and looked and counted the cars. Secondly, he said that we will be adding transaction fees. I use Pango almost every day. There's already a 25-cent transaction fee on the app, so I don't know if they're adding more. But the other thing he mentioned was trying to get long-term tenants down into the parking garages. My wife gets home from work at midnight. I don't know who's going to walk her the 3 blocks from the parking garage to our apartment, or if we're going to have more police out at night to patrol that, but not a great solution. So just starting there, I think we should check the rest of their surveys and projections, because it seems like they're all just going off the eye test. For me, I go to work at 8 a.m. and come back at 5 p.m. every day, extending the hours, 260 weekdays in a year times 3 hours a day. 780 hours will come to $755, $1,755 just on the weekday extended hours for someone who works 8 to 5. 52 Saturdays in a year times 11 hours a day, 572 hours, $1,287. Transaction fees twice a day, because when you go into the app in the morning and then when you get home from work, you're getting charged 25 cents each time. 832 transactions, $208 in a year. Just for me, who works 8 to 5 and would need to pay before I go to work and after I get home from work, $3,250 a year. The current daily total, $21.50 for someone who works an 8-hour shift in downtown. That comes out to $107.50 a year. To put that in perspective, someone making $41,000 a year working in downtown Scranton is working a full 8-hour shift just to pay for parking. That is 20% of their take-home pay after taxes just to pay for parking. And that's not to mention if they have a job where they can't be on their phone every 2 hours because there's a 2-hour time limit, and they go out to 2, maybe 3 different fines in a day. Of my 10 best friends who graduated from West Scranton in 2008, I'm currently the only one who lives in Scranton. This is mostly due to convenience for my work. For decades, we have lost some of our best talent, creators, entrepreneurs, and community, not only to larger cities like Philadelphia, but more so to our neighboring cities. There was always an unofficial slogan from anyone who has spent time in Scranton: there's nothing to do here. You've all heard it, you're lying if you say otherwise, and even though I personally do not believe it is true, was the mindset for some time. Recently, the city, the council, everyone in this room has done a great job to change that by leaps and bounds. My wife moved here 3 years ago. That was her mindset, and she tells me every day, things are looking great. Scranton is getting so much better. The shops, the restaurants, the breweries, the salons, the great events for all ages. This would be a step in the opposite direction, telling those people, while we appreciate the fact that you want to utilize our new downtown, it is going to cost you. This will be a trickle-down effect when we see less customers visiting these establishments, which in turn, their prices will rise to compensate. And eventually, we will be back to the boarded-up windows and that old saying, making it back into circulation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Ellman?
Good evening, Council. You people must be in denial. You just don't seem to grasp what's going on in the city anymore. The last couple weeks, I've walked some of the same places I did 4 years ago getting names. The property owners are gone and there's renters. Renters don't care what the property looks like. I've been telling you that for 3 years about my neighborhood. It's getting worse and worse. 2 weeks ago at 2402, some people moved in, parked on the lawn, there's junk everywhere. In 2 weeks, they have created poverty. That's what's happening all over. And I don't know where these people went. They're just not here. Undesirables are taking over. We're becoming a Hazleton. The way they work a pencil, how could anybody fall for this stuff they came through tonight? They have a contract. You can't just null and void a contract and tell them to start over at taxpayers' expense. $2 million of tax money, senseless to a nonprofit. Why are they nonprofit anyway? That's the trouble with Scranton. You people have allowed God knows how many useless, worthless nonprofits, and this is one of them. You know, this is supposed to be a plan for the city. How could this help me? How could this help anybody out there? You know what? A plan for the city is like the California plan on school and property taxes. In case you don't know what that is, in California, when you buy a property, whatever the taxes are at that minute, they stay that way as long as you own the property. When that property is sold, like code enforcement, there's nobody better than knowing the neighborhood. Code enforcement can say what the new taxes up or down should be. You know what we got? We got 2 guys from Ohio walking down sidewalks dictating what our property's worth. They didn't even know about my garage, my basement, my back. They didn't know nothing about my house because I talked to them. They were out there with transits and so forth. You people, if you consider this crap 1 minute, you don't belong in those seats in November, I'm telling you. You got to start thinking about the people of this city that puts you there instead of trying to save a failed business. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Merwin?
How are you? I almost wish I went first because I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of the stuff that you guys have heard. But my name is Andrew Merwine, and I'm the co-owner of Loyalty Barbershop, a downtown Scranton business operating since 2014. I'm here to share concerns about the proposed changes to parking enforcement, specifically expanding the paid hours 7 to 7 and eliminating Saturdays. We've worked hard to remain successful while still dealing with the lasting effects of the pandemic, combined with rising rent, utilities, and supply costs, making margins tighter than ever. Many other businesses downtown are in the same position, trying to maintain momentum in a tough economic environment that the changes in parking will only make tougher. And I know that people get sick of hearing about COVID, but it took so long to dig out of the hole that it created that it was only recently that I feel like most of us stopped honestly feeling the effects, even if it was 5 years ago. But Scranton's third-party kiosk system is often unreliable and confusing. Many kiosks will be randomly out of order or only accepting one type of payment that day, and customers regularly tell us that they feel anxious about getting ticketed despite attempting to pay. For instance, sometimes it'll take quarters, someone will come down with quarters, then it only takes card that day. It's random. Also, it absolutely has let me pay times when it's not supposed to, so I don't know what they meant with that, but just food for thought. Sometimes customers give up on coming as often as they would altogether for fear of being ticketed or not understanding the kiosks. Extending the paid parking hours and removing free Saturdays will only increase confusion and deter visits to downtown businesses. Free parking on Saturdays was one of the small concessions that helped encourage people to visit downtown on weekends. Saturdays are crucial for our business because of walk-ins and families who feel comfortable coming downtown without worrying about parking fees or tickets. Removing this will negatively impact customer turnout and weekend revenue for many businesses. The other concession being our customers who came downtown before 8 or after 5, many of them elderly or big families that were already paying a lot for haircuts, because they felt it would be easier than looking for a spot, dealing with the kiosk, all that, so they would come before or after ticketing hours because it was easier and less financially hard on them. Extending the hours will alienate them as well. Longer parking hours may create short-term revenue, but they risk driving away the very people that we need to continue bringing downtown back to life. If fewer people come downtown, every business suffers, and so does the city's tax base. We would at the very least ask that the kiosks are fixed and better maintained to reduce confusion and improve reliability, like mentioned. Offer discounts, validations, or passes for customers and downtown business owners possibly, and at least maintain free Saturday parking until a full impact study and community input process has been completed. Loyalty Barbershop has been a proud part of Scranton's downtown since 2014, and we ask that the council consider how these proposed parking changes would create unnecessary barriers for customers and harm businesses working hard to rebuild and to grow. We respectfully urge you to reconsider and explore solutions that support long-term downtown success. Thank you.
Thank you. William Noss? William? Nasser? Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is William Nasser. I'm a co-owner of the Backyard Ale House located on Linden Street downtown. We've been down there for 17 years. I'm also a resident of the city of Scranton for going on 20 years. Before I dive in, I want to thank council members for your service. I know that your job isn't easy at times, and I know it's maybe ugly and difficult, and especially when you have a mob of angry business owners descending upon you. But I appreciate what you guys do for the efforts for the city. So I'm voicing my opposition as it relates to the proposed parking increases. I've been down. If I'm mistaken, the extended hours has been attempted before, and it didn't work. And I believe it was rolled back because it was a disaster, and it was only mitigated until the hours were adjusted back to the additional 5 p.m. stop. It will chase customers away, and the losses aren't just limited to customers. We have to, if our employees are going to have to get a commensurate raise, and you're gonna see it on both ends, because you're gonna have less customers, and then you have to match. You can't expect your employees to take a haircut too. I I mean, it's hard to get employees, so there's parking lots and people that need jobs in Dixon City that can park there for free. So it's just, it's easy for someone to say, oh, I'll just go work up there now. You know, so we like to try to retain our good people that have been working for us. As it relates to the overall scope of parking downtown, I believe the city commissioned a study a couple years ago called the connectivity study. And I know that there's some discussions and some capital improvements. And I'm just wondering if any of that incorporates what that study had to offer. Because that could be a pathway or a solution to maybe resolving some of these financial issues that the parking authority is seeing right now. So, you know, that's just something for you guys to consider. That's above my pay grade, but I just wanted to point that out, that maybe that's something that should be considered. So I just, in summation, just hope that you guys reconsider and maybe punt these, you know, these changes until we can really hash out and maybe find a better, more long-term solution that's suitable for paying the city's obligations and for the business community. Thank you.
Thank you. John? Tubal? John? No? I'm trying. About Jamie Hillstone?
Good evening. Tonight I'm here as General Counsel for Lackawanna College. My client asked me to appear tonight to voice our opposition to the increase in time and increase in parking fees. There's no question this will hurt our students. As you probably know, Lackawanna College is a college that's made up of most of our students are non-traditional students. They work, they're coming back to school, they're younger, but they're also working full-time. We have a lot of students that come later. We don't have the capacity to give every student a parking spot. So they're parking on the streets, and that can be a burden. That can be a great burden. But they're doing it because they want to better themselves, they want to get a degree, and they want to move on. This is going to hurt them. There's no question when we look at this. The extending the times, the increase in the fees, and especially the Saturday. They come on Saturdays to use the library facility, to use our facilities, and it'll just be an extra burden on a population that really doesn't need to be burdened like this. I ask you to really closely look at this bailout that's being created for the parking authority. It's not even clear that increasing the hours and increasing the fees is going to do anything. There's no information, and I've read everything I was able to find on this, and there's really nothing that says this will be, other than, well, maybe this will make the bondholders happy. I think this has to be reviewed very carefully, and stay away from adding burdens on people that are coming to town for good reasons. Coming to town for schools, coming to town for the libraries, coming to town to go to dinner. It's going to hurt people, but and what I'm here for, our college, it's going to hurt our students. And we have to ask you very strongly to oppose this legislation. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all for our sign-in sheet. Anyone else wish to address?
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. I was going to talk about the ECTV, but I think tonight, since you're talking about this, maybe that's all right, too. I'd just like to say that I think that Chris Doherty's legacy still lives. He built the parking garage for absolutely no reason. Council debated it and figured out that the city couldn't afford to pay for it. And so we put the parking authority basically on a collision course with self-destruction. And then you add into that multiple councils after that that refused to be responsible. They played the political game. I appreciate the business owners here, but if you lived in Scranton when I was a child, the business district was much larger and more vibrant. And even at that time, it was in a major decline. I really can't tell you why anybody would come to the downtown Scranton area and pay the kind of money they pay for parking here. And as some of the people have spoken, none of the equipment for parking works. You're walking a block to another kiosk to pay. And, you know, I think it's time to realize that the reason we have a nonprofit running the parking authority is because of the incompetence of the parking authority itself. And don't forget that we had a mayor that was prosecuted for public, I think, was it corruption? I mean, you can just see the way the city's gone. And then we find ourselves where we are now. You know, the nonprofit running the parking authority is so it didn't have to pay taxes. That was the discussion when this whole deal was run through. Don't forget, I've come here for 40 years. I've watched all this stuff take place. There's really only one solution to this problem. You have to dissolve that agreement, and you have to sell the remnants of the parking authority outright to collect the money necessary to pay the bonds off. And we have to stop playing silly little games with kiosks in neighborhoods and around hospitals, all right? The remnants of some of them that would still exist in the downtown could be where the rates could be seriously reduced, control the flow of parking in the city that makes conducive for business owners to have, you know, control over how long people park in one spot so that there's a turnover, so patrons can come and patronize city businesses. But the only real solution here is that that agreement has to be terminated and dissolved. And we have to face the reality that we've squandered almost everything in this city. We look at our water bills and our sewer bills, and then Pennsylvania American Water does articles where they're pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the city systems here because the elected people that we elected used the sewer authority as an employment agency for politically connected people. And it's just hurt the whole city. And you know, my next stop is this, I'm going to be 70 soon, and my next stop is a cemetery. But what about all the young people that are here that are going to move here? Do you want to create a vibrant Scranton and offer people a future? It's like I said here from the podium many times. I moved my children out of this city when they were young and sent them to Abington, and it's paid off. They're all making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not here, and I told them they had to leave because I knew the residents didn't really care about the city. They wouldn't come to meetings. They didn't want to change anything. And you know what? The ball's in your court now. Do you want to change something? Do you want to give the children here a future? Dissolve the agreement, sell the assets of the authority off, pay the bonds off, reset all the meters in the downtown, create a flow of traffic through the city, and give these people a chance to make a living, because most people know that independent business owners don't operate on a large profit, and most of them don't get wealthy. That's what the statistics say. So, you know, do something for your community for once and change the direction of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. Doris Kolotsky, Scranton resident. Okay, I have two things before I get into the parking, because that's what I came for, is whoever cleaned up 421 Colfax last time, if it was through the city, please send them back again. The second one was, as I was walking to the park this morning with the dog, as I went by Colfax and Linden Street, there's a round hole with a pipe in it right in the middle of the intersection there. I went catty corner, and I was lucky I didn't step in it. And I did see a hospital worker and asked him if he had any clue what it was, and he said he thinks it's from a utility company and that the cap is missing. So I don't know who you would tell to go up there and check it, but somebody's going to get hurt. Okay, that's the end of that. All right, well, I had seen in the paper about the parking. I thought it said extended to 7 p.m. and Saturdays, and I wasn't sure if it said anything about Sunday. And I planned on coming this week to talk about it. Now I found out there was a caucus and a whole thing that went on. So I want to give you a thing as not as a business owner downtown, but as a customer downtown. I go to physical therapy downtown, and you're going to extend it to 7. That leaves that you can't go at 5 o'clock to save a little bit of money, or 4 o'clock where you only have to pay for part of the parking. When we go to the Broadway Theater League, which I just redid my tickets, we usually go to Abe's Restaurant. It's usually a Saturday or a Sunday, so we don't pay for parking. We don't worry about having to spend a half an hour in the restaurant and then a couple hours at the Heritage Center and having to worry about running out of parking meter. So as a customer, we go Saturday mornings. One of my groups has a meeting once a month at Northern Lights Restaurant. They're on Biden Street or Spruce Street, whatever you want to call it now. And I mean, I don't know if they'll continue to do that. If they're going to have to pay for parking, we might just move to some place that has a parking lot. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that. But I like Northern Lights, and I like to go there. And I like to go to the downtown deli. We were just there last Saturday for something to eat. And now you're telling me you're going to charge more for parking. If the parking authority, I didn't even know they were nonprofit, but if they were nonprofit, then that's too bad. They're not supposed to be making a profit. So I don't know why they would need more money. When you go to a doctor's office, it's the same thing. When I go to the medical arts building for my dermatologist, I have to pay for parking. The last time I was in town, I had to go to 3 different kiosks. One kiosk I couldn't read to press the numbers in because it was so filthy dirty. I couldn't get my license plate number in. Then I went to another one around the courthouse square, and it wouldn't take my credit card. Then I went back in the car to get quarters, and it wouldn't take the quarters. So then I had to cross the street, walk up the block, go to the next kiosk, and that one wasn't working. And then when I came back to just leave town in my car, I saw another woman struggling with it, with the same kiosk that I was at the first time, and I said I couldn't get it to work either. It went as far as after you put your license plate number in, and it wouldn't let you pick your time and your hours. Then the following week when I was down there at the same kiosk, it was working. Sometimes it'll take one credit card, but it won't take the other credit card. I mean, and then you don't know what to do. Some of them are spaced pretty far apart, so that's a problem. So I just gave up and left, and so did other people. So somebody told me to download the Pango app, which I just downloaded, and I just didn't finish setting it up. I just downloaded it yesterday, and now I hear this guy saying that there's going to be a service charge every time you use the Pango app. So I don't know, but all I want to say about the parking situation is, as a customer, it's a lot easier to go up to Clark Summit and pull into a parking lot than it is now to come downtown Scranton. And that's just not right. They should not be extending these hours. It's bad enough when you have to park during the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Anyone else?
Yeah, so Aunt Marquise, activist, musician. I really just came here to spread light on my nonprofit. It's called Heal the Homeless. So I know I spoke about this a few months ago. I was talking about touring and doing a whole big music tour to raise funds in order to give back to the people in Lackawanna County who are in need. So I never forgot about that. Now that I'm back, and I took a little bit of time off so I could get focused and things of that nature, I feel like it's time to get back on the purpose. So with that being said, I'm going to be going to the V spot tonight, and I'm going to be talking to the host, and hopefully I could get a green light to start raising funds there, and then we could get this thing going. I'm so nervous, guys, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Like I said, it's Aunt Marquise, musician / activist. Thank you. I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.
Greeting Council, Tom Coyne-Manuka, and viewers. I put forth 6 questions for the City Council caucus. The last one was if the parking group would be willing to have the issue tabled until the July 29th session before break. Between 6D, 6E, 7C, 7D, 7E is 468 pages to review. They had enough time for legal and PowerPoints and all, but did not think that a caucus was a good idea prior to submitting this. Most of the time, large financial issues and some even zoning or liquor license, we have a month where we hold public comment. But to hear some response for the submitter the week of some votes and the week before 6D and 6E, 381 pages in those 2 alone is not enough time. We are racing to approve a 45-year in duration contract in 16 days. The changes in the parking times and Monday through Friday at 7 will only make it more difficult for Scranton caucus for it not to be a cloistered event. We also get why they want Saturday parking, to force Center City business and renters into the parking garages. As it now stands, 8 to 5, they leave for work when it's free, they come home when it's free. And the idea is, by changing the hours, is to force them to pay for monthly payments in the garages rather than getting free parking in the evening on the streets. WNEP reported, soon you'll pay more for parking downtown Scranton, including on weekends. Even they expect that was going to be a done deal and a rubber stamp. Moving on, some of us saw pictures of the board meeting in the hallway downstairs as they were locked out of City Hall. Speaking of getting it right, I believe that Mr. Smurl, you were one of the representatives on this board that was appointed by the council. I'm not sure why, if the board, if your badge was broken and you could not get in, or you just weren't there as a representative. Why do we assign positions of oversight on some boards to the administration and council if they never even show up to those meetings? As usual, no one would have known unless they were not locked out of the city's building. More from the news, McDade Splash Pad. Relatively new construction, and we can't even keep it open for a single season without something breaking. At least we're not complaining at this point of the lack of lifeguards in the city. More from who is deciding who is the best contractor for the city? Because we've seen a lot of shoddy work come down recently from the best. Over to potholes. I want to thank DPW for tossing some cold patch into the hole on Finney Street and filling it. But we need to give them the proper tools. It was not sealed. It was not pressed fully. It's on a slope. Water's just going to erode it again, and it'll wash out within a year or two. Does the city even own a drum roller or mini roller to press down pavement into the roads? Mr. McAndrew asked about responsibility to car repairs. So in the interest of clarity in public, I will note, the question was on responsibility to Scranton and claims. Yes, they're responsible. If you can prove you gave them notice. In Pennsylvania, statute hold that the government agencies like townships and cities are liable for road conditions which the agencies have actual knowledge. Actual knowledge can be provided by the minutes of public meetings or by statements of the township, city or township officials. So for your potholes, don't call 311. Use the pothole app, email them, and on the portal it doesn't email you back, so take a screenshot. By you actually reporting to the city properly and having a record, if someone else winds up having their front end damaged, at least then there's evidence so that they can get restitution for the negligence of the city. And do we need another trash truck when our city streets right now look like trash? I think we need to shift to that rather than to the trash trucks. Thank you, and I hope you table this whole thing. I still have time. Thank you very much for interrupting.
I'll give you a couple more seconds. Go ahead.
You certainly did to Scranton tomorrow. Now, again, you know what? You've thrown me off. That's good enough. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Charles Jefferson. I've been in Scranton for 20 years. I developed the Connell Building, 200 Adams, 426 Mulberry, Samter Building, took Montage out of bankruptcy and turned it into what it is today. I generally don't attend these forums. I generally don't put myself out there. I'm thrilled to be surrounded by the people that have shown up tonight. They're business owners, they're residents, they're citizens, they're your voters. They came here to object to something that we all believe is egregious, overburdening, and just plain wrong. I've been here for the last 2 hours. I watched a lot of high-priced talent sitting here spewing what they spew. I'm not high-priced talent, not a financial consultant. I'm just a guy who's invested here for 20 years. I listened to Dave Terrazzani, who I've known for 25 years, predating my time here in Scranton. Talk about Scranton as a destination, but in the same token, he talked about it's only going to get worse for Scranton. You know what? I'll spare the expletives. How much worse can it get than having more businesses downtown, than having more people downtown, than having more customers downtown? I don't think that's getting worse. I think that's getting better. I submitted a letter to you folks earlier today. I don't know if you got it. If you didn't, I have copies here, and I'd like to submit it for the record. So
Sure, give Kathy this.
here it is for the record. But just some of the questions that I have that I think have not really been explored. You know, I've watched that parking authority for the last 9 years that they've been involved. And I ask myself, what's their marketing plan? What's their business plan? I have residents downtown. I've never seen an outreach from the parking authority to any of those residents. Never. I've never seen a validation program to any business down here to encourage people to park in those garages. But you know what I have seen? Over the last 9 years, I've seen time after time after time. I've seen budgets promised and budgets broken. I've seen people come and say, oh my God, we need a couple more dollars, only to say we need a couple more dollars. I've heard the COVID excuse. No one knows more about the COVID issue than I do. As the owner and operator of Montage Mountain, I was closed, making zero money. Meanwhile, the parking garages were open. They were open. You had residents here, you had people here, you had everything here. What was their excuse for not getting people in? I'll tell you what their excuse was. Their excuse was, we're going to charge you $92. We're going to charge you $120. Meanwhile, I've watched other lots, surface lots, come up with $50, and they're filled. You know what? The problem here today is not how much can we charge. The problem here today is a simple business problem. How do we operate those garages efficiently? That's the problem. We have people who have never, ever, ever, up until 9 years ago, and I'm going to tell you, you can check it out, for a fact, their only knowledge of a parking garage is they parked in one. You know what? I'm not here to impugn any of them. I don't want to do that. But what I do want to do is I just want to ask you to take a look at my questions, take a look at my 40 years worth of experience, and ask yourself, do we have the answer to these questions to make the decision to burden the businesses, to burden the residents, to burden the citizens with additional dollars just to pay for somebody else's mistake? I think the answer is no, but it's not mine to decide, it's yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. I'll make sure they get a copy of your questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Norma Jeffries. And I have to thank, was that Mr. Jefferson, I guess, that spoke earlier, because he said most of the things that I was going to say. I was looking for the backup data to all of the slides that they had presented earlier in caucus. I was looking for a balance sheet to see their expenses versus today versus what they're going to look like tomorrow. Are they looking to cut any of their expenditures, or is it just us, the citizens of Scranton, who are going to foot the additional bills? And as a resident of Scranton, a senior citizen of Scranton, I do come downtown to use the facilities in town. I come to City Hall here, and I go to over the county building. So of course, I never find a parking space, so I have to pay. Until maybe a couple years ago, I would get a ticket. Well, a ticket, if you're overparked, is $35. So I said to myself, well, it's better for me to go ahead and get the Pango, and that way at least I could stay in town or be wherever I was without the fear of getting a ticket. But when they talked tonight about the fee, there is a fee for Pango, it's 25 cents of fee, but when I looked at that, I thought, well, 25 cents versus a $35 ticket, it's better to go ahead and use the credit card and go ahead and get paid for whatever time I'm spending in town. So when I saw that they were going to increase, I said, okay, that's going to be another hit on my fixed income. And then I'm usually a regular attendee at council. So if you're going to extend the hours to 7 o'clock, that means another 2 hours, because I usually get here a little early. So that means another 2 hours of money that I'm going to have to pay in order to attend city council. And the reason I attend city council, I want to be informed. I want to be informed from my representatives of the city and not read about it in the paper. I want to hear it firsthand. So that's why I come to city council. So, you know, raising the fee and, you know, it's just going to be a burden. And I just am appealing that you do not go along with the increase and that you take us senior citizens into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Anyone else?
I'll be short. My name is Marie Schumacher. I am one of two people who come down to a place in the city and 6 days a week. And they are two people, and sometimes three, that will not be down here if you do what you are being asked to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing the time to have us all voice our concerns. My name is Jen Saunders. I am the owner of Northern Light Espresso Bar and Cafe, as well as the Little Wild Refillery, located on Biden Street. I also, after purchasing my first business, became a downtown resident because of the love I have for this city. Growing up in this area, the city has changed so much. It is becoming extremely vibrant, livable. I walk the city streets downtown at any time, night or day. I am very safe. I feel very safe. I have met some of the most wonderful people, whether it be artists, other community, other business owners that have become lifelong friends. You heard earlier from a consumer, a customer that said she may not come downtown to purchase something at my business. That's one customer. My businesses are very expensive to run. If you'd like a balance sheet or a profit or loss, I'm always happy to share it, because as someone else mentioned earlier, I don't own a business to become rich. I love people, I love my community, and I love what I do. This is going to be detrimental to my business, my customers, my staff. I'll absorb what I can. We can't always absorb it. If I have upgrades that need to be done, as the gentleman mentioned in his presentation, I'm responsible for that. I'm not putting that on my customers. Although I did not come prepared to speak after listening to his presentation, there are some discrepancies. This needs to be tabled. There are solutions upon solutions upon solutions. Data, not sure where they're pulling it from, but I will just give a very brief experience. My business is in the Scranton Life building. Parking Authority, I can go right around the corner. 7 years I've owned the cafe. I have gone over numerous times. Can you tell me, on a Monday afternoon between the hours of 12 and 6, how much money do you collect from my block? I'd like to pay it and offer free parking. They look at me like I have 3 heads and tell me the data doesn't exist. Baloney. Repeatedly, I have done this to try to help my customers, and now to hear the possibility of extensions where they have to pay, especially on Saturdays. These businesses, we drive customers down here, whether it be any time of the week, but yes, on weekends. That's when families can come down. That's when some people are not working that can't get there during the week. We need to maintain the businesses that are there, and this is going to be an extreme hardship. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey, my name's Eric Bussard. I'm a local mural artist.
The other mic.
This one?
There you go.
This one?
Yes.
Sweet. Hi, my name's Eric Bussard. I'm a local artist, mural artist. One of the big things I love about murals is they encourage foot traffic and people to get out and walk around downtown, and that ends to more like business for the local businesses. I think expanding these hours and adding Saturday, I think it goes against that goal. So I think you should really reconsider doing that. I think especially the Saturday one is really going to deter people from leisurely walking around and maybe finding a new business or a new place they wouldn't have otherwise planned to go see. I think it hurts the walkability of the city. And lastly, just sort of a left field thing, but a little bit of a safety concern. A lot of people go out to the bars on Friday, and it's a good peace of mind. You won't get a $25 ticket if you leave your car. A lot of people will feel like they might have to drive home. It might lead to an uptick in DUIs and certain safety things in that manner. Everything else, pretty much everyone said way more eloquently than I can, so I'll leave you guys to it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Rick Little, 28 resident of Scranton. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. There was a short, white Jewish artist who famously said, don't follow leaders, watch the parking meters. And I think that's very relevant for Scranton these days. We're all talking about cars and roads and places to put your car. And Every week I come here and I get sidetracked because everybody's talking about parking today. Anyway, I've been looking at I remember when I was 7 years old, I first heard about Eddie, who died, who was more famous than Elvis. Before Elvis, he had the song that had the lyrics, went to my congressman, he said, quote, like to help you, son, but you're too young to vote. And like I went to my congressman, I've always been going to my congressmen and whatever they are. I went to Congressman Marty Flynn, who I found out, oh, he's not a congressman anymore anyway, you know, to talk about, you know, the food stamps disappeared January 10th, last February, and I'm sure it's just somebody in Harrisburg who pushed a button right after the election and said, all right, you know, Lackawanna County can deal with it, you know, no big deal. And there's all these excuses, just like there is with the parking meters and with the homeless. The homeless, my God, I picked up the paper today, you know, city man robbed Turkey Hill, and he gives his address as like 9 Olive Street, which I know is the homeless shelter. And then right next to it is man charged with illegal possession of firearm and assault. You know, and it starts, a homeless man with officers identified as a felon. You know, this whole criminalization of the homeless has been going on a long time. I went and looked it up at the library, and it just so happened that the date of my HUD lease, my Scranton Housing Authority HUD lease, which was like February 6, 1996, that was the day, maybe a year or two before all the HUD funds came in. And that's the problem in this community, because people have gotten used to all this federal money coming in from Health and Human Services, Department of Education, and HUD. And we've set up a criminalization network, people that run Scranton Housing Authority. They criminalized me. You know, they charged me for an air conditioner I didn't have to be at the court. But what really got me in my research today, I don't know how this works, is that the amount of housing units in Scranton Housing Authority is basically the same now as it was in 1996 or even 1990 going back. And the weird thing is, you know, like last week, the subject was, you know, the mission shelter, and, you know, there's only 20 beds for the homeless in Scranton. And so much air is wasted on what the homeless are littering, the homeless are trespassing, the homeless are doing this and that. And, you know, Marty Flynn's officer guy, you know, what do you expect, an investigation? Yeah, there should be an investigation on a lot of things. You know, when the Scranton Housing Authority buys, we were talking about local businesses, they buy their cleaning products from New York State, and I'm walking around, I see all these cleaning product businesses here. Place has to come together where the people in the community are supporting other people in the community, and Scranton Housing Authority has to be taken back by the city of Scranton.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gloria. I own Frank's News downtown. I took over in June 2006, June 2019. I took over in June, 5 months, and COVID hit. So after my husband is a contractor. I used to be a Rite Aid shift supervisor, so I work in retail. So Jerry Frank, everybody knows him in town. He wanted to sell the business, and my husband asked me, do you want to do your own business? I'll get the business for you. So I got a business in June 2019, 5 months COVID hit, after we put in all our money. I love the city of Scranton. during COVID, I actually took a picture of the city, and you could actually hear the fly go by. It was like a ghost town. So I see businesses suffer in the city during COVID. And I just see now all the new buildings, apartments and stuff, new businesses, everything coming to life. And it's so beautiful to see everything coming to life from all what the city have actually gone through. It's nice to see all these buildings, restaurants, nail salon. It's like we're getting back to life. And Thursday night, Friday night, Saturdays are the busiest day in the city for businesses. People come to the city because more people come to town because during this time, they don't have to worry about parking. So if they extend the hours, these people are going to take their business to Dixon City or Clark Summit, where they don't have to deal with parking. I'm never here, but this really got me, and especially for the old people. Because I was here since 2019, most of my customers are old folks. And once they put in that parking machine meter, I seen some of them not come to town anymore because they were so confused. So many times I went out to help people with the meter because I feel bad for them. And some of these old people decided to come to town only on Saturdays and Sundays because then they don't have to deal with the meters. So now I feel like it's getting taken away from them. So the only day that they come to town, this meter people is going to take away from the old people. You guys have the power to stop this. So I'm here to ask you, please, have favor for the old folks and have favor for the businesses. That customers, some of our customers only come Saturdays because they don't have to deal with the parking. Please, look into it and see what you could do. If this is going to continue, at least maybe you could get some kind of voucher or something for the customers. And also for the old folks, when they come eating during the weekends, so they don't have to worry about parking. Please, you guys look into it. This really bothers me. It's not good for businesses. Everybody says Scranton is getting more vibrant, everything, more cars, Saturday nights, Friday nights, Thursday. It's like no parking. Everybody's in town. Once the time gets extended, all that is going to dwindle away. People are going to avoid the city and go to Dixon City. They don't have to deal with that. It's getting bad at night because they don't have to deal with this parking. Once parking comes, it's done. It's going to go down again, and it's going to affect businesses. I'm here talking because I really love this city. And from what we experienced during COVID, I see the light again. And I'm so scared it's going to get taken away. That's why I'm here today, as somebody that loves the city and somebody that owns a business in Scranton. Please, guys, do something about it for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Frank.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
I do have a few motions and comments. Last week, I spoke on some of my concerns about this, about the parking deal, and what I heard tonight was what my concerns were. I'm going to save what I'm going to say about the parking for on the question. I'm going to move into fifth order, and then when we get into sixth order, I'll talk about my feelings on parking. So just switching gears. One of the biggest complaints I'm getting at this point in time, as the winter ended and spring came and now we're into summer, is the conditions of our roads. I think we need a couple updates on some things, and Mr. Voldenberg, if we could send to the administration, can we get an update on the pothole portal? How many have been reported, by whom, whether they're citizens, employees, et cetera? What percentage have been filled? How many are pending? What's the turnaround time? Because this is the concern that's coming in the most at this point for me, and when speaking to DPW, they're saying the same. Also, again, conditions on the roads. Now we're 6 months into our new pave cut process. If we could just get an update, where are we at with the pave cut procedures? Where are we at with inspections? I've known we've gotten several very good examples of pave cuts that need inspections, how that process occurs with those inspectors, and where we are with our procedures and how we're doing with citations for those utilities that are not keeping the pave cuts drivable. Another update, where are we at with DPW negotiations? We haven't heard anything in several weeks, so if we can get an update on that. And then another one, where are we with Rubicon? If we could get an update on that, since the new deal has gone through. Are we using less trucks? Are we using more trucks? Are efficient decisions being made? Are we utilizing optimized routes at this point in time? And when it comes to maintenance of vehicles, are we avoiding maintenance issues with vehicles because they're being picked up by that system? And as I said, well, one more thing. For Les Spindler, I did ask last week about the Trip Park Stormwater Project. Thank you, Mr. Voldenberg, for sending that through as it relates to those areas of Bulwer and Hawthorne Street that are experiencing very parallel issues where the water is not staying on the roads beyond the curve and it's coming straight down the sidewalks. The answer I got back was that pre-construction meetings for the project is going to occur on July 8th. I imagine that's a meeting only with the city. It's not a public meeting, so if we could just clarify whether that's, do we know if that's a public, it's not a public meeting.
It's not public, but I'll clarify further.
So the city administration is going to have a pre-construction meeting for the project on July 8th, and then after July 8th, they'll be establishing what will be occurring afterwards on that, on the stormwater projects there in Trip Park and in North Scranton. And that is all for tonight, and I'll save my comments on parking for sixth order.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I do. First off, and I believe it was brought up tonight about on 307, the lookout that's there. I had been asking for updates and asked a follow-up question last week that I received a response to. So I was looking for more of a plan and a timeline as to some of the repairs that need to be made over there. I do want to thank Councilman Smurl for helping to clean up the area. I did see the pictures, and it was a big difference. I do want to find out how we could get the city to continue to maintain that so it doesn't end up looking that way again. But what I was told was that the lookout wall is with the city engineers. It's a historic wall above a steep hill, and repairs must be done by professionals. At this time, city engineers have had to prioritize projects related to stormwater and roadway repair, and will address the lookout when able. So that's all the update that I have currently for that, but we will stay on it. We also have been receiving follow-up complaints regarding the feral cat concerns on Golden Avenue, and apparently the neighbors were told that no cats are going to be trapped or removed due to limited resources. So I would like to ask from Animal Control what those limited resources are, how we could rectify this, if there's anything that we can do on our part to ensure that the cats are able to be taken care of in that neighborhood and others that are having this kind of issue.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Mr. Voldenberg. And then I also don't believe that I had received a response yet from DPW, but last week I discussed some of the road conditions as a result of a storm about 2 weeks ago that really tore up the areas of Pine Street and East Gibson Street around the hospitals that are down there. And there's still the same barricades that are there, and nothing's been done to them yet. I even took pictures myself to send in because and other residents have sent in pictures too. It's really in terrible shape at a number of those blocks. So if we could press them for another answer on what we'll be doing to repair that and when.
I will. We're waiting on date for repair on both Pine Street and East Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And Lastly, I know that we'll discuss this more with the legislation that's on the agenda tonight, but I do want to say I'm appreciative of all those who showed up tonight to discuss their concerns, both as business owners or residents of downtown, regarding the potential for parking changes. And I appreciate all the points that were made. I believe the last speaker really discussed about the vibrancy of downtown. I love that too. I think there's nothing better than being down here on like a first Friday during the summertime, and there's always so much to do coinciding with that. I love the feel of our downtown, and I'm down here often as well, supporting businesses. So I certainly don't want to see businesses suffer. And listening to all the different suggestions tonight, I have some suggestions I would like to make as well, but we'll discuss further as the legislation comes up. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
I have a couple comments. So I will also speak regarding the parking legislation as we read it around the question. But I want the public to know that it's not just one resolution or one ordinance approving everything we talked about. No, this is going to be broken down. So there's going to be an ordinance to approve the amended and reinstated concession lease agreements. That's all that was pretty much talked about tonight, all right? That itself is going to be extending time, extending the weekends, increased cost, all right? That's to approve and amend the concession agreement until 2070, right? So then there's also going to be a motion or a resolution for the transfer of the parking authority assets and liability to the city. What that means, and it's embedded in all the legislation we got, is at the end of the term of the agreement, we get the assets back, meaning the 4 garages, all right? So we have to vote on that. We don't have to vote on all of these or be happy with all of these. I just want to make it clear. Then also another resolution, pretty much the same thing, transferring the parking garage titles to the cities. All this has to be in resolution form or just the ordinance, okay? And then a resolution to allow the bonds to be issued tax exempt. And then another ordinance to modify the rate schedule, all right? So I just want the public to know we're not voting on one thing tonight, and it's the whole ball of wax. Because I think that's what people are concerned about, to have the people that came and talked. So with that said, I'll talk on each item as the motion is made. So I need to report out a couple things that I asked, and I finally got some answers. So I asked about the city administration, please update council regarding the pave cut and pothole repair process to date. Mr. Schuster just touched on it, which is great. They started this new process months ago, and it's supposed to be more streamlined. So I asked that question, where are we at? And because there's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't bring it up in fourth order, or text me or call me, or I encounter myself driving here. So, how many of the old paved cuts in the city have been addressed and repaired? That's an issue. It's an issue with Mr. Spindler. He's been looking at the same problem for years. And that was my concern too. They're Johnny on the spot on the new ones, because I've seen that. Like I said, the one near Gary's, my house, looks like it should be in Wikipedia. It's perfect. But the rest of them are not, or even the older ones. So I want to know where we're at, where we were with that. So as of June 27th, DPW has repaired 132 potholes reported through ScrantonPotholes.com. The city has addressed all issues identified. It's estimated that nearly 100 instances of prior year's work have been investigated to date. So the prior year's work, she's referring to the pave cuts, or whoever sent this. But I think some of these are older, like Mr. Spindler's. We have to look at all of them. And it says, these have been identified through Mayor Cognetti, pave cut inspector, city council, resident complaints, city staff. Well, we know that because we bring them forward. We know where we are at with that. So locations of reports are then cross-checked with prior year permits on PA1 calls to find the entity responsible. If a permit wasn't submitted in the given year, they'll be required to submit a permit in the new system. Companies have been very responsive and frequently repair the work with a very short turnaround. So I don't know if this is working. They're trying to make it sound like it's working, but it doesn't appear it's really working yet, and for the residents that I talked to. All right, so we got to keep our eye on that. Then, so also regarding potholes. So, you know, it wasn't clear as, because I asked this prior to, I ask about potholes almost every week, it's exhausting. But I remember asking, because hearing, you know, living here long enough, 62 years, I remember that people used to get reimbursed for damaged cars and mufflers and tires. I just remember it. And then I was told, no, you have to go after utilities. But then I asked again, and then they actually said that you can submit, wait, where is it? They said you can file a claim with legal in the city, and I said, well, that's great. I said, I know it now, but the rest of the world needs to know it. So I said, could you please put it somewhere on the website so it's accessible or people are aware of it? And all they said was noted, so noted. So I don't know if they're going to do it. So we'll follow up on that too. All right. Then, so 126 South Webster Avenue, I don't know if it's part of the bridge work that's going on down there, but there's 3 barricades on the street that are separate. I don't know, I only got a picture, I didn't take a ride by, but one looks like it's from me to Norma, and then there looks like another one's the same distance and another one. And also the same alley behind that has another barricade, and it's the whole width of the street. And you know what, I don't know, I wasn't sure, so I told the gentleman who called me, I said, I'll bring it up, because I don't know what's going on there. I thought it was some type of bridge work, but it goes right to his property line, and his concerns are, you know, first of all, garbage and recycling pickup, but his bigger concerns are when the weather starts getting, you know, cold and snowy and ice, how's that truck gonna get back there and plow, especially in the alley, because it's totally one end is barricaded. So how are they going to get down there? And it's a hill. You know, plow, ice, pick up whatever they have to pick up, and then have to back it up uphill to get out of there. It looks like a nightmare, and I agree with him. So he likes to know is there a solution prior to the weather hitting? He's concerned about it.
I'll find out, sir.
All right, and then I know, you know, there's a big push to have broadband everywhere. You know, replacing broadband in the state, in the country, there's a big push for it. So, and I know the city's been talking about it, but I received a concern on a property in Trips Park, KOZ, right? So everything's underground for them. They don't have telephone poles. And the resident received a letter from Astound, right? It's the internet company. And I know it's part of the broadband project. I know there's another one too, but you know, she just wanted to confirm this is the provider, and I know what it is, but her concern was, and she got a little chart in the mail, and it says like white paint. I know we talked about maybe a month ago about what the colored paint means on the road. If it's purple, if it's yellow, is it the gas company, is it the water company? Well, this had a little color chart, and it said white. So the white paint is proposed excavation on her property. But she said it's sprayed all over her yard. I mean, I don't know how much far this lines are supposed to be put down for the broadband, but she's concerned, first of all, does she have to have it? Can she say no? It's her property, right? I don't know. And that's a good question. And the way the lines were painted in her yard is like under very beautiful, mature landscaping and shrubbery that will be affected by it. And the line is like running towards where it would go underneath her concrete driveway. So, and she tried reaching out to the city with no response. And she called the internet company with no response. So could you please help us out?
I will. Our city planner should have information on that.
Yeah, would you please relay that concern to him? All right, thank you. Am I forgetting anything? No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Do you have something else?
I did have something. Real quick on the pave cuts, we had the one on Court, like I said, there were several good examples lately. We have one on Court Street that's new. The one on Bulwer is new as well. It's only, I'd say, a month or two old. And then the one on 7th Ave. But there was also the one on Clearview that we got several messages from I think it was the 1800 block of Clearview, and the work has stopped. If we could just get an update on what's occurring with that one on Clearview.
I will, sir.
And then I did add you into an email, Frank, just so we know. Jessica said she didn't, I don't know if she didn't get an update on the lookout, and I know Mr. Smurl is probably going to talk about it, but some members of the DPW did reach out to me that were bricklayers for over 30 years. They said they had approached some of the supervisors possibly about the DPW taking on that work, and they would be happy to do it. So I did send a follow-up email today as well on the same topic. So if we could see what the supervisors' opinions are of our own DPW who have bricklaying experience and concrete experience to do that work and get those repairs done at our own lookout.
I will, sir.
Okay. I guess I'll continue on the lookout since it was brought up earlier. There were a group of volunteers that went up Sunday and cleaned it. Because of the last 5 weeks, there have been endless complaints about the lookout. So I know there's been a lot of problems with the walls also, but and I also know Parks and Recs are supposed to maintain that area up there, but in the summertime, when the rain starts and the heat starts and everything starts to grow again, that entire place just gets overgrown quickly. And Parks and Recs gets very thin manpower because the pool's open, so they lose men to the pools, to the splash pads and stuff. So they can't keep up with everything that they normally keep up with in the summertime. I know they hire extra help in the summertime, but there are a lot of younger people doing that, so they don't really get as much done as they would want to get done. So the thing is, we went up and cleaned it again, and the entire thing about this is people say you're taking work off of union employees. Now, no one is being laid off in Parks and Rec or the DPW. There's constant overtime. There's all the overtime they can want. And these are all volunteers that go out and just try to clean this up and make the city just look better and be a lot cleaner and safer for everyone. So that's done. And while we were there, we did take pictures just to see all of the damage. There are about 30 sections at the top that are missing stones. But the problem with the stones are, every stone that's missing, it looks like it was thrown over the back wall, which drops about 30 feet straight down. So for our DPW, God bless you.
Thanks.
For our DPW to go up there now, this time of the year, when the brush is really, really thick up behind there, it's almost impossible to get in there right now. I think a better time would be in the fall to get them out. And our DPW right now is working on all the stormwater projects that the pipes that were blocked, all the storm drains were blocked in Kaiser Valley. They are all over there on all that work, so I don't see them coming to this quickly. So we did look. It doesn't seem to be any foundation problems, but I know I sent this to the administration. They gave it to the city engineer, and they will deal with that. If the DPW can handle that, that's great. But I know right now at this point, there's not enough time for them to do that. So if that does become available, I'm sure that they will go up and do it. And then the last thing I have is on July 4th of 2026, the United States will celebrate its 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So last Friday, I was at the Scranton Mayor's 4th of July ceremony at Nyack Park. And before that, I was speaking with Sam Kuchwara about bringing in the veterans, the memorial wall. And I was told that it's updated, there are new sections, and there's a lot of new things to it. So we did some information. I got all this information from Mr. Kuchwara about bringing this in. It seems it's about $15,000 to bring it in for our, and I think this is something that the city should sponsor for our veterans. So I did ask the administration about adding this to the budget for this year, and I'm going to ask our council members, if everybody is okay with this, that I would send this back down to the administration and ask them to put this in our budget for next year so that we can get started on it, because it takes an entire year of planning to get this done. So if we get it in now or in the next month, I believe we could get this sometime in August of next year. I think it's a great year, or a great time to have this for our veterans, our 250th anniversary. So I'll ask the council members.
Absolutely.
You good?
It's fantastic. It's a great idea.
Yes. Jessica, you good with
Yes,
this?
definitely.
Tom? So with all council people agreeable, I will send this back down to the administration, to our mayor and Eileen Cipriani, and ask them to place this in next year's budget so we can get moving on it. It does require a large deposit, so they also said that they would take care of that as long as council all agreed with it, and we do. So that's a really nice thing to do for our veterans.
5B for introduction and ordinance. Amending Chapter 18, Article 4 of City Code to amend provisions governing the vacant blighted property review committee.
This time, I entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction and ordinance, authorizing the naming of the North Scranton Mini Park on the 1800 block of Wayne Avenue in North Scranton in honor of Anthony Tony Walsh.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, I'm very, very happy to be supporting this item 5C in honor of Tony Walsh.
Thank you. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution. Resolution for plan revision for new land development located on the portion of the lands identified as map number 167-180-30009, the site of the Hilltop Manor Apartments.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, filed to council number 81, 2025, an ordinance establishing a school zone at Francis Willard Elementary School at the intersection of Hampton Street and South Main Avenue, the intersection of Hampton Street and 12th Avenue, the intersection of Einan Street and South Main Avenue, and the intersection of Einan Street and 12th Avenue.
For reading by title of item 6A, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
6B, reading by title, filed to council number 82, 2025, an ordinance establishing a no parking zone on Einan Street at the mid-block crosswalk near Francis Willard Elementary School.
You've heard reading by title of item 6B. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
6C, reading by title, filed to council number 83, 2025, an ordinance establishing Hampton Street as a one-way eastbound roadway from 12th Avenue to South Main Avenue.
You've heard reading by title of item 6C. What is your pleasure?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6C pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
I make a motion to table items 6A, 6B, and 6C.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So there is a motion on the floor and a second to table items 6A, 6B, 6C. These ordinances pertain to the Francis Willard Elementary School Zone. They are being tabled at the request of the Scranton School District. On the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
6D, reading by title, filed to council number 84, 2025, an ordinance amending file to council number 37 of 2016, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into concession agreements with Community Development Properties Scranton, Inc. with respect to metered parking in the city of Scranton and the garages owned by the Parking Authority of the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, pursuant to the Scranton Metered Parking System Concession and Services Agreement and Scranton Parking Facilities System Concession and Lease Agreement, and to authorize certain actions and ancillary agreements contemplated by the metered system concession agreement and the facilities concession agreement, as amended by file to council number 23, 2018, and file to council number 27, 2022, as so amended, the amended 2016 agreements. To authorize the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into the amended and restated Scranton metered parking system concession and services agreement and the amended and restated Scranton parking facilities system concession and lease agreement, collectively the amended and restated agreements, to amend the original agreements to reflect the authority's transfer of the Scranton metered parking system and the Scranton parking facilities system to the city, to extend the term of the amended 2016 agreements, and to make certain other revisions to the amended 2016 agreements, and to authorize certain actions and ancillary agreements contemplated by the amended and restated agreements.
You've heard reading by title of item 6D. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6D pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question. All those in favor?
So on the question. Back in 2012, when the default happened, and in 2016, when the monetization happened, the monetization was considered one of the first steps of revitalization in the city of Scranton. And I feel the rate increase, plus the extension of hours, plus the addition of Saturdays, goes against that revitalization. It defeats that purpose. We heard tonight many arguments for several different things, which were my concerns last week. How it affects businesses, how it affects college students, how it affects those on a fixed income. And they're going to go back to the table and see if we can get any concessions from this concessioner. I hope that they do that. I hope a message gets sent from council tonight when they go to speak with them, to come back and to be supporting our businesses and our residents and those on fixed incomes in the city of Scranton, and help with the continued revitalization of the city of Scranton. So I hope those concessions can be made, and I hope we can move forward with that.
Anyone else? Good. All those in favor?
No, not good. All right, I'm going to summarize what I said in caucus. And what I said in fifth. This piece of legislation is separate than all the others, all right? But this piece of legislation, I have a problem with. And the problem I have with it is the weekend piece, all right? I didn't see one person come up to that podium tonight and say they were in favor of it, right? I was thrilled, like I said in caucus, to see and have a common denominator in this whole room was caring for the residents and supporting them, and supporting their and cherishing their customers. Guess what? It's not. You know how expensive it is to do business in the city of Scranton, and they choose to come here and open businesses, and some are residents, and then to have this extra burden put on them because of the weekends. I just see it's a deterrent. I mean, we heard from everybody, and they should know. They're the business owners. I believe them. I take them at their word, right? They're the ones that know how would they be affected. So with that said, but also at the end of the day, we can't let this default the agreement. So they have to come up with a better plan, because if they default, it comes back to us. And guess what? The city couldn't do it in 2016. They couldn't handle a parking garages and deal with it. They went into default. Christ, they can't even handle the potholes we bring up every week. How are they going to deal with parking spaces in garages? I'm not trying to be mean, but that's the reality. I'm a realist. So I don't know if I should just table this, make a motion to table until maybe Mr. King's back, until maybe we get some answers. But I think that's the right move right now. So with that said, I'm going to make a motion to table this piece of legislation.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion to table and a second. Yes.
Operating rules, a tie vote defeats a motion, just so you're all aware of that going into your vote. If it's a tie, the motion to table goes down. then you have to vote the original
Because
motion.
it's 4-4, yeah, 2-2.
So a tie fails.
A tie fails,
Okay.
just so you're aware.
So we do what you want, a roll call, or you just
Do a roll call.
do a roll call?
I would suggest a roll call would be appropriate in this circumstance.
Yes, okay, then.
I'd like to first speak on the question. So yes, on the question and motion to table, but also on the question for the legislation. So like I said earlier, appreciate the concerns that were brought forth, and I had concerns of my own too, and other questions that had come up. And in addition to what they're going to reconsider or bring back to the table to the bondholders for the days and hours, there were a couple of other things that were important to me, important considerations. First, I understand the need for the debt refinancing, but I want to make sure some of these other concerns can be addressed as well. First, as I mentioned during caucus, I really want to see a hard stop for payment after hours so that we're not accepting money. I feel like it's deceptive to people who may not even be residents or outside of the area who are visiting and are not aware of the parking hours for us to continue accepting payment at the kiosks. I also want to see more of a detailed explanation for what employees will be enforcing the new hours and what factoring in that cost as well to pay those employees and making sure that they can enforce throughout the city. Also, I know that we previously had less of a cost for tickets if they were paid within a certain time period, like say the first 24 or 48 hours, rather than it being $35, maybe incentivizing people to pay their tickets when they receive them so that they don't put them off. So I'd like to see a consideration for that. Obviously, we need better maintenance of the kiosks. We've been asking about that for a long time now. I've previously asked for data on how many kiosks are down per day. I think I was told it was, 1% or something, but never really saw like the proof to back that up. And from what people are talking about, it just has always seemed like more than that because of the frequency with which the kiosks are not working, or even if there's glitches where they are not accepting certain forms of payment, that's problematic, and especially for people that have to go to multiple kiosks. I also in the past have asked for just better education of the public about use of the kiosks, say for our elderly or people who are more confused by how to pay on it and how to operate that screen, and that's not something that I've really seen, and so it sounds like people still do have a lot of confusion around how to use the kiosk, and if they can't use the kiosk, they're certainly not going to download the Pango app. They might not have the savvy to do that. And another thing for incentivizing parking in our garages, at least for those long-term parkers that we are looking to move off the street during those hours, would like to see discounts for students or for downtown residents or for businesses. I know the idea of vouchers was brought up too. At the marketplace, they do vouchers for their parking, or you can get them stamped when you go inside somewhere. So I think we could be a lot more creative around that, and I think that would take some of the pressure off of businesses if the hours were to be extended or rates were to be increased. So, sorry that was lengthy, but those were some important things that I wanted to make sure to get out prior to this. With regards to the motion to table, I know they are going to bring it back. I don't know how readily they can get responses. Because this is in 6th order, I feel okay with letting it go to 7th, but I will not vote for it next week if we don't have the answers that are needed and on these important points that I brought up as well. And I'm not totally confident that that'll happen within that period of time, but would still like to give them that time to do that.
So I'd just like to say one more thing. So in 2016, when this deal was made, in DC was quoted as saying the city is going to retain ownership and we're going to be participating in key decision-making with the whole deal. This is one of those key decisions that needs to be made. I do think we need to think of our residents and our businesses in Scranton. And again, it was considered the first step in revitalization after all of the financial difficulties of those years. It's part of the reason I'm involved today, was trying to get out of those troubles of some of those years. And I don't want it to be forgotten that we have helped with this deal in the past. This is something that we do want to see. Council has helped this organization run the parking garages. So it's something we've helped with in the past, and I don't want that to be forgotten. But we are a key decision maker in this. I don't know if you'd like to rescind your second, or if we'd like to just move forward with our roll call.
There was a motion and a second. You're now on the question
Yeah,
of tabling the motion. So now it's, if everybody's done speaking on it, you can vote
I
the
spoke my
table.
piece. I'm ready to vote to table,
Okay.
unless you want to say something.
I'm going to say something,
Okay.
of course. So I just want to say that this isn't something that started today. This started back in 2012, when a city council back then decided not to pay debt obligations of the parking authority, and that destroyed our credit rating back then. I certainly don't want to see that happen again. This restructures the parking system. It includes dissolving the parking authority. That really doesn't do much. Gives us that money to dump back into the garages for repairs. It avoids a financial default, and it reduces the debt by $15 million. That $15 million is a hit that the bondholders are going to take, not us. And we are not borrowing the money. They are. We're really not responsible for that, but we are going to get the actual structures back, which we don't have right now. We do own the parking meters or the kiosks and stuff, but we don't own the structures. But I certainly don't want to hold this up at all, and they are going to come back, hopefully in a few days, with the answer. The only part that I don't like is the total Saturday parking and charging for parking on Saturday. I do understand the parking Monday through Friday to extend it. And I have spoken to restaurant owners in downtown, and they feel that the parking, if I live, say I live in the Forum and I decide to, I come home from work at 5 o'clock and I park downtown because I don't want to pay the fee for the garage. So I'll park downtown. And so my car or my vehicle is in that spot till tomorrow morning, and it's there for free. Now, if you have a lot of people doing that, you're going to take up a lot of spots for the restaurants, for the bars, for the places that are open in the evening. So the whole idea of that is to eliminate those vehicles from being there. Now, I certainly believe that Car Park should get into some kind of agreement with parkers that would put their vehicles away at night that actually live downtown. They would have to go through the owners of the buildings or however they did it, but I believe that would be something that they should look into. But the entire day on Saturday, I do have a problem with. So, and that's all I have to say. So this will be a vote on tabling
6D.
Tabling 6D. Okay?
6D.
I'm sorry. It is 6D, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
No to table.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
No.
So the motion to table fails. Now you have the motion on the underlying 6D legislation.
So we will vote on 6D. Do you also
I
want
would,
to do this as
I
a
would
roll?
like to point out as well, since you do have a tie, and this is unusual for us, besides a tie vote failing, if a motion is to be brought back by way of a motion to reconsider, the individual who makes the motion to reconsider must have been on the prevailing side of the vote that denied it.
Okay, you're going to have to, a little louder, because I,
So if a motion fails, the only person that can bring a motion to reconsider that motion is somebody who was on the side that won below. So this, in other words, they had to vote no,
okay,
right? If it's a tie, that motion cannot come back,
yes.
which means we will be, in theory, putting the city in jeopardy of a default.
Yes.
Is there a timeline on that, Mr. Gilbride?
There's no timeline. It can't be done. Because it's
There
a
is no
tie
timeline.
vote.
That's it. It fails, and
Well,
it fails
the
forever.
motion fails. And it can't be brought back by way of reconsideration because there was a tie. A tie fails.
Gotcha.
So it would be, I mean, in essence, I guess the tie, people who voted no could bring it back. They could, whoever voted no could ask for a motion to reconsider.
Correct,
So the
yes.
table would have been a more reasonable vote. So now we have to go back to the original motion, and if I vote no and Schuster votes no,
It
then it
fails.
fails.
And one of us would have to bring it back.
Yeah. Silly, this is nonsense.
It's the
Tabling was
rules.
reasonable.
All right, so we're going to vote on 6D. Do you want a roll call, or do you just want yea or nay?
Well, so it would be easier because you're probably going to have to do it anyway, but ordinarily on this, in Section 6, you vote ayes or nays, which the president then decides whether he felt it passed or it failed. If that was disagreed with, the members who voted the opposite way could challenge that, and then you would have to go to a roll call anyway. So it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to put
So it
another
will
layer
be-
in there, you can do that.
It will be safer to do a roll call.
Well, you'll know for certain.
Okay, then we will do a roll call.
And then, Mr. Gilbride, if concessions are made and we decide to bring it up, is there a timeline to bring it back?
Well, this is all based upon the funding, right? So that's the problem with delaying on bonds. What the interest rate is today, it's not going to be tomorrow. So that's why the urgency when it comes to bond deals. So is there a timeline? Well, there's no legal timeline, but the timeline is what if at some time it becomes
And if it affects the interest rate.
yeah. And that's not my expertise. I can't tell you anything about that.
Understood.
Okay.
So is this 60D to pass reading by title?
6D,
To pass reading by title?
to pass
That's the
reading
vote.
by title.
Mr. Schuster?
No.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
No.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes. So that motion also fails, Mr. Gilbride?
That fails.
Okay. 6E, reading by title, filed to council number 85, 2025, an ordinance. Amending filed to council number 91, 2002, an ordinance as amended, providing for the establishment of parking meter zones within the city of Scranton, establishing hours of operation, providing for the installation of meters and parking meter rates, authorizing the enforcement of parking ordinances and providing penalties for violations therefore by amending Section 3A to reflect the change in hourly rates, as amended by file of the council number 41, 2016, and file of the council number 67, 2019, to authorize an increase in certain metered parking fees, an extension of the hours of metered parking enforcement, and the implementation of a service fee for credit card and certain other payment methods.
You have a reading by title of item 6E. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6E pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, resolution number 236, 2025. Resolution for plan revision for new land development located at 152 and 154 Batlick Street.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, resolution number 237, 2025. Authorizing an agreement with King, Spry, Herman, Frund, and Fall LLC for assessment appeals legal services.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question,
On the question, I'll be abstaining from this vote tonight on the advice from counsel, as I've previously engaged in legal services from this law firm.
okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Abstain.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally, lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, resolution number 238, 2025, approving, in accordance with section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, a plan of financing of the Scranton-Lackawanna Health and Welfare Authority to undertake a project for Community Development Properties, Scranton, Inc.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second?
On the question,
On the question, this here is moving forward with the financing of the Scranton-Lackawanna Health and Welfare Authority to undertake the project for the parking authority.
roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally, lawfully adopted.
7D, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, resolution number 239, 2025, authorizing the acceptance and assumption by the City of Scranton of all right, title, and interest in the obligations of the Parking Authority of the City of Scranton, Pennsylvania, in the Scranton metered parking system and the Scranton parking facility system pursuant to the terms and conditions of an assignment and assumption agreement between the authority and the city, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into the transfer agreement, and authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute other documents and take other action in furtherance of the foregoing.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As vice chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, resolution number 240, 2025, authorizing the acceptance and acquisition by the City of Scranton of ownership of and title of the parking garages owned by the Parking Authority of the City of Scranton, Pennsylvania, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into an assignment and assumption agreement with the authority to provide for such acceptance and acquisition of the parking garages, and authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute other documents and take other action in furtherance of the foregoing.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Finance?
As vice chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
8th order, 8A, filed at council number 80, 2025.
This is an ordinance in the HUD, is the HUD 2025 Consolidated Action Plan. It has been tabled until public hearing can be held Tuesday, July 29th, 2025 at 5:45. There's no further business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.